Hello friends, welcome back to Miss Mo's Vegan Kitchen, coming to you from Toronto, Canada. Tonight we are having a true Canadian classic meal, Poutine. So to make this, I bought some vegan cheese curds, friends. Oh my gosh, I was so excited to see them. There's a store near us called Victoria Whole Foods. It's on Gerrard at Rhodes, I want to say. Or maybe the street after. Anyway, I think it's the street after. But let me tell you, friends, I am so excited. So this is just French fries. Oh my gosh. Mushroom gravy, cheese curds, and grated cheese. And it is so good. Got my water. It was cold today, friends. My nose is still running. And I've been home for like an hour. I walked up to Victoria Whole Foods, which is like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. And it is cold. I was wearing this hat, mind you, instead of my warm hat. Because sometimes, you know, I'm stubborn. Just like Axel. Wears his freaking hoodie all winter. So good. Wow. This is a huge plate, friends. I don't think I can finish it. Wow. You can't really see it, can you? The glare is awful. Oh, well. I think that's why sometimes I use the orangish plates that I have. Because they don't glare as much from the light. I'm so hungry, friends. We were supposed to have chili today. But I wasn't feeling it. I was like, you know what? I don't want it. So I was thinking about what I wanted to make. And then I remembered that Victoria Whole Foods had posted these cheese curds. Oh my gosh, friends, they're so good. They're made with almonds. On their, either Facebook or Instagram, I'm not sure. But as soon as I saw them, I'm like, oh, I need to get those. And that was the other day. And I finally made it there today to get them. So growing up, here, story time. Growing up, my mom loved cheese, okay? And my mom is one of 15 children. My grandma had 16, but one died at birth, so one of 16, really. Yes, friends, 16 children. My grandma was a hero. In like, I told you, I think she had them in 13 years or something. It was nuts. And they grew up in this beautiful property And obviously, you have to figure out how to feed everybody. So, my grandma made a lot of homemade stuff. Can you believe making all this stuff when you've got 15 freaking kids? My word. So, my mom, of course, learned from my grandma, who in turn taught me, and now I'm teaching Axel. Well, one of the things that we learned to make was poutine. But not this kind of poutine. This is Acadian, which is French Canadian poutine. And honest to goodness, friends, I think I've told you about it before, but it's like this whole process to make them. So we used to have, I think we would buy 50-pound bags of potatoes. No, Charlie. 50-pound bags of potatoes. And you have to cook half. So you have to peel them, boil them, mash them, and then the other half is raw grated potato. I think it might have been more than 50 pounds of potatoes. I'm thinking it was like 100 pounds of potatoes. It was nuts, friends, how much we would make at one time. We're talking like a freezer full of these poutine. So you would get your potatoes and you would make like a mixture, okay? And you would mash the potatoes and you would put them in cheesecloth and you would squeeze out all the liquid, and then you would mix the raw, sorry, did I say mash? You would grate them. So you would grate the raw potatoes, squeeze out all of the liquid that came out of them, and then you would have the mashed cooked potatoes, and you would mix those two things together to make like a dough. And then you would put salt and pepper and fresh savory in it. Excuse me, but it's not savory that you would get in the store. This was summer savory. And this stuff is so good, friends. Like, just the smell of it, the taste of it just instantly reminds me of down home. We still call it down home, even though I never lived there. I would spend my summers there, but I would never live there. So, then you get these balls. So let's say they're quite big. I have a yucky apple here, but I'm going to show you. So say they were this big. Then you push a hole in the middle. So you start with it about this big, probably. You push a hole in the middle with your thumb, and you make it like a divot. And then you have this filling, which is usually salt pork with a bunch of spices in it. But simple, like salt, pepper, onion. The summer savory. And I can't believe I'm eating all this, friends. Wow. A few other things. Whew. And then you form the ball together again. So now you've got to probably add a little bit more of the dough mixture, and you form a snowball size, okay? And you would make, say, 300 of these things. But you have to be careful, because raw potatoes oxidize and go like this nasty black gray color. It's so disgusting. So as you're grating them, you let the pieces fall into water with a tiny bit of vinegar and salt. And it kind of helps so that they don't oxidize. Oh. I obviously wouldn't make them now. I would make them veggie if I did make them instead of salt pork. But as you know, I've been vegan 9 years. I didn't grow up vegan. So then you have a huge, like, cauldron-sized pot on the stove. Sometimes 4 of them going at once on each one burner. And a lot of homes down east have more than one stove. So sometimes you even have like 2 stoves going with 8 pots. Or, excuse me, you would go to the church and you would use the big industrial ovens. And you would just do pots and pots and pots of these to sell them to the community. So each poutine has to be wrapped in cheesecloth. Now, not everybody does the cheesecloth thing, only some people, because they've had a bad experience with them falling apart as soon as they hit the water. And it's very frustrating after all of that work that you've put into it for them to fall apart. Woo! And then so say this is wrapped in cheesecloth, as you dip it into the water, you say the name of a deceased relative. And that is that person blessing the poutine so that it doesn't fall apart in the water. And then you have to bring it to like a simmer. And then as soon as they start to float to the top, you know that the dough is cooked. Excuse me. Friends, honest to gosh. And the water is a little bit salty, like a brine, but not like a pickled brine. It was such a process. Like we would do everything from scratch. So they would, start the salt pork process sometimes months in advance to make that. And then you would do the potatoes. Sometimes were even farmed themselves. And like the summer savory, they grew it themselves. So they would harvest it. And it was really amazing, the process. And, like not many families nowadays, they actually have these traditions that they carry on. So I just love like carrying on our heritage. And I'm so proud of the fact that I'm part Acadian and, pure Canadian. And I love carrying on that tradition. Unfortunately, I can't do it the same, obviously, because now I'm vegan, but that's okay because that's a new tradition now. So it's carrying on in a different way, but in a beautiful way. And then you would, depending on how you liked to have your poutine, so after it simmered in the water and it floated to the top, you would take it out, let it cool, and then you would cut it in half, and it would be this beautiful, like a piece of art, because it would be the white on the outside from the cooked potatoes, and then inside was this bright pink, excuse me, like from the meat that was inside. Now, I've only ever had it once with vegetables, and it was beautiful. It was like carrot, peas, onions, garlic, like almost like a little stew kind of a thing in the middle. So it was really cool. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to try and make it one time. But like I said, it's like a process. And we would all sit around the table. So imagine, if you've got a family. I mean, as I was growing up, obviously my grandma didn't have any of her children there because they were all grown and with their own families. But we would all come together during the summer, and we would have these big, what you call a K-lead down there. So we actually took it's an East Coast word that means just a huge party. And there's another Acadian word. I'm so upset that I can't remember it because there's a huge festival, an Acadian festival, that is just for that word. Okay, Google. Can you please tell me the word for Acadian party?
According to Wikipedia, Tinamar is an Acadian tradition of marching through one's community making noise with improvised instruments and other noisemakers, usually in celebration of National Acadian Day. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or Google Assistant app.
That's not what I was thinking of, Tinamar. Okay, Google, can you please tell me what the Acadian Festival is called in New Brunswick?
Festival Acadien de Caracat. On the website tourismnewbrunswick.ca, they say, For the past 55 years, the Festival Acadien de Caracat has been the top Acadian cultural events of the year and one of the largest Acadian tourist attractions.
I don't know. I can't remember what it's called, unfortunately. But we have like Festival d'Acadie. So everybody comes together, and like honestly, everybody down there is kind of like only a few different last names. So we have, my mom is Vautour. There's Como, Thibodeau, Savoie, Leblanc. There's only like quite a few that are all Acadians, but we're all related in some way right down there, right? So as you can see, once you start talking, it's really funny how, like, I find that I do have kind of a Canadian accent. Obviously, I grew up here. But once I start talking of the French names and I start talking of my Acadian heritage, sometimes I'll pick up my own, that I'm picking up the French accent. And I'm learning French, like I said, on Duolingo. I'm almost at 200 days, which is amazing for me. So 200 days, my friends. I have been doing something and teaching myself something for 200 days. I'm kind of impressed. All right, so then you would take your poutine, and we would say, this is the plate that it's on. So you would have just poutine, and you would take a little bit of the broth, the brine, and you would put a little bit of that on there, and then you split it in half, and it opens up to this like beautiful, almost like kind of like a geode looking thing. And it looks like, I don't know, like a boulder or something. And then you would either, if you liked it savory, you would put a little bit of thyme on there, maybe some ketchup. I didn't like it with ketchup at all. But if not, you would put some brown sugar if you liked it sweet. Now that sounds really odd because inside of it is very savory. But the thing with the savory and the sweet really lends itself well to each other. And it is beautiful. So I am definitely going to try and make that for you. Vegan version. And it's probably going to completely dive bomb the first couple of times. But I will not give up. Because that will be so interesting to see if I could do it. And then another thing that we grew up with was tourtière. So that's Acadian meat pie. And that's a whole nother process. We made the dough from scratch, and it had to be a certain way. And we would have all of these pies all over our house drying out, because you have to dry them out before you freeze them. And, you know, my dad would go at the butcher and get all the meat, like sometimes weeks in advance. And they would cut it into little tiny pieces and season it all and everything. And I would never make that now, obviously, again. But I could do it with the, you know, maybe TVP and maybe some soy curls cut up. And maybe some Gardein ground round, or beefless ground, whatever it's called. So that I could have different textures, because all of the meat had different textures. And then I could use all the same spices in there. And then I could use vegan gluten-free crust. So it wouldn't be anything like a real tortilla. But it would be my version that I would be able to eat now, which would be so interesting to see if it would turn out. And then homemade bread. Oh, friends. Homemade bread. I totally not even going to lie how much I miss homemade bread. I made bread every single day for probably, I don't even know how long, maybe 20 years. And sometimes I would make several loaves a day when I had my home daycare. And, you know, I would just, everything about making bread to me is so therapeutic. The whole process of mixing it, the smells, of course, the music and the singing, because I like to do that while I'm making it. And then the kneading, oh my gosh, friends. And then the rising, and like I said, the smell of it, it's just so beautiful to me. And then as it comes out of the oven, and you know, you brush it with, in this case, I would brush it with margarine. When we were growing up, we would brush it with butter, but I would brush it with margarine, and then eating it, oh, with usually homemade jam. Oh, everything about that I miss so, so much, because gluten-free bread is never even the same as that. When you make gluten-free bread, excuse me, at least the ones that I've made, it's almost like a really thick batter. You don't even need to knead it, because there's no point in producing the gluten in it, because it's gluten-free. That being said, I would like to experiment again and see if, now that I've been gluten-free this long, if I could actually be okay with making bread. because I could still make it vegan to sell to my clients. And I have made it, but not in a long time since going gluten-free. So I've been gluten-free over 2 years now. And I don't think I've made any kind of baked goods that had that didn't have gluten-free flour in over 1.5 years. So that would be really iffy for me in case I got sick. Oh well. All right, friends. That's it. I can't even believe that I ate that whole plate of poutine, but I did, and I have some gravy for tomorrow. I have lots of cheese curds left, so I don't know what I'll make with that tomorrow. Maybe I'll make some kind of pastry or something and have cheese curds in it. That would be good. And Axel can actually eat them, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal. What is your favorite food memory from growing up? What is the one thing that you wish you could make now that you used to have when you were a kid, or do you still make it? I want to say that my favorite thing growing up probably would have been fish cakes. And I have made them vegan and gluten-free. Totally not the same, but they totally do. So I need to make that for you, as Axel and I were talking about the other day. Okay, friends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when we put up a new video. We love you. Stay blessed and keep smiling.